So today we have a package coming to us all the way from P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. It's not Nemo, they found him. Stupid little fish.
Hey, Jay. Jay. Jay.
What?
We got work to do.
Yeah, I'm playing World of Warships. Yeah. World of Warships is the free-to-play naval strategy game where you command the most iconic and famous warships from World War I and World War II, recreated with stunning detail and accuracy. Build your fleet while participating in various game types while upgrading your ship's arsenal along the way. New players who sign up using my link below will receive an exclusive starter pack to get you up and running quickly by receiving 7 days premium time, 1 million credits, 300 doubloons, and the Tier 5 premium ship, the Exeter. So what are you guys waiting for? Start sinking ships with World of Warships by heading to the description below and getting your freebies. All right, so I think I showed this. Yes, I did comment about this actually on Twitter when Singularity Computers showed this. Look, the title of this video is something along the lines of little companies are why big companies are in trouble. And the little companies are the ones that are innovating. And Daniel and his team at Singularity Computers, all the way from the bottom side of the ball disc thing that you think we're floating around in space on. Hey, Daniel, when are you gonna move yourself to the US? I guarantee you would, look, all politics aside, I guarantee if you were here and closer to the main buying demographic, you guys would be untouchable when it comes to the designs. So this is actually a power board, but it's a power board slash distro block plate slash radiator mount thingamajigger. I don't know what it's actually called. In fact, he ninja sent it to me. He sent me the tracking number and was like, yo, this is coming. And I'm like, okay. You know why he does that? Because he knows this happening. Do you know why I do this? Because I love the guy. No, it's more bubble wrap. My nuts fell out. These nuts. Oh, gaming mats are available, by the way, new ones. These are back. You guys love these, but we made a more clean aesthetic where we removed the mouse and keyboard writing because I assume people knew where their peripherals go, but just in case you forgot. So there is a clean version also that doesn't have it. You guys can check it out at jesussense.com. Anyway, so like I said, it is a distro block slash power board. So, and it has a screen. Wow, okay, so it's a distro plate slash power board slash sensor panel. This is why I love the guy so much. Like him and his team, I don't know who came up with this on his team. I think it's just a collaboration effort, honestly, between Daniel and everyone on the Singularity Computers board at this point, if you will. But this is why I said big companies are in trouble because of small companies, because these guys are thinking outside the box to come up with stuff like this. That's universal. This will go anywhere that a 360 mount fan would fit. So for instance, I've got 360 radiator right here. I don't think I'll be able to mount it directly to the rad, or possibly I could. So we'll figure this out. The problem is, the one thing Daniel must improve on, and I know you're watching, sir, because you're gonna retweet the video, you always do, update the manual page, please. You make good shit. I know you can write a user manual because you get stuff and then you're like, what goes where for how, when, right? So anyway, I know enough about this product and in the industry to know what I'm looking at here. I know this is a DDC pump. I know this is a DDC pump. You might even have a D5 pump top somewhere hanging around. I know exactly where the inlet and outlet is gonna be because I've done enough of these to know that this is the outlet right here. And obviously that's the inlet that's pulling right from right there. And that could be a return, and that's a fill, that's also a return. So I know what I'm looking at, but so many people don't. And this would be confusing and upsetting for a lot of people to just try and sort of figure out. Anyway, I'm assuming this can either mount to fans in some way, right? But I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. The way it's set right now with its standoff, that would just go through the case, and then you'd use the washer and nuts on the backside, and then it's mounted. This would be perfect for like the dual chamber cases right now, like the Lian Li 011 Dynamics or the Antec C8 or like the was it the NB9? Oh, those are 140s, this wouldn't work. Please make a 140 version. I know that the 120s are more widely supported, but 140 would be nice for big cases like NB9 and stuff. But you obviously got like the H6 and the NZXT cases that use, dual chamber now. So this would mount anywhere that is, and I think I have it upside down right now. Yes, I do. So the screen would go right there. And this is awesome. Like Phil's eyes got all big when he saw the sensor panel screens. He's like, that's sick, because it's already there and figured out for you. So obviously we have power cables. It looks like these are gonna be extension cables to go from our power supply to the board itself, right? Yeah, so we've got, well, this is gonna come in handy at some point. It's just a very long 12 volt 6x2. And then here, obviously we have 24 pin, and then we have, that's the other half of the 24 pin. They have 8 pin EPS and possibly a PCI Express. So this is in on the bottom, so it's labeled as in. So that's where it's gonna come in from the power supply, boop, 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 into there, and then out of there into the motherboard. So that's where the power board comes in. And just like on every other power board, you've got RGB built in, RGB in, so this also becomes an RGB splitter. And then we've got fan headers and stuff on there. So I like that it gives you just kind of a centralized location to plug everything in. We also have some dials in there, which are actually be very difficult to get your fingers in to turn, but they're there because fan speed and your fan header can be controlled by that dial manually if you don't want to run PWM. So if you just want to have a manually set speed, you can do it through that dial. So that's just a voltage adjuster to the output of both the fan and the pump. So that's one of the things I love about the power board is it gives you the option to toggle back and forth between motherboard control and say the power board control. So we have a few toggle switches here. So this is just a lead cable for controlling the fans. So as you can see, or the pumps, it's just a double-ended female PWM on both sides. So that allows us to plug it into a motherboard and then plug it into the in, like on the power board. So we get 2 of those. Okay, so that's getting pump power. That can be ran underneath it, right through the opening where the fans and stuff are. And then on the back side here, you obviously can be plugged into SATA power or Molex, depending on the kind of pump that you have. So that's kind of nice, because this has to, the pump's gonna have its own lead, which is gonna have to come off around the back. So now you're solid. We also have our ARGB lead wire. So this is what allows us to get a signal from the motherboard to the power board to control our ARGB devices. So there's this. And then this right here is linking cables. Okay, so these are the link cables to be used to go between the power board and the motherboard. Then once again, this sounds like this is supposed to go from power board to power supply, which I guess could potentially be long enough on the bottom, but now these feel kind of short for that. So these, to be fair, I don't think any of these cables are included when you buy it, because the reason why it's labeled my name on here, or GTC for the channel, is because he knows I like to use Seasonic based power supplies, and usually EVGA. He hasn't checked with me on whether or not we've switched which power supplies we're using, which we have, so that's why I haven't been able to really use any of these. I just had to get new cables sourced. Otherwise, you're gonna have to plug your power supply cables into here. So you just run your factory cables to here, and he sleeves these like this and sends them so that they just have uniformity with the cables that are gonna be included with it, which is the linking cable, so that when you go from here to say your motherboard, then it's nice and neat. The reason why this looks weird like that is he actually measures these specifically for the arc, because once you add the radius, the top obviously has to be longer than say the bottom, because it's a longer arc that it has to go. So then as soon as you move the combs in place, pow, they're not all weird looking. So that's why it's all squished out looking like that. That way when we link this to say this 24 pin, and then that would go right to your motherboard. So ideally this would be going on a case where the 360/3120 radiator / fans is right next to the motherboard tray, a la 011 Dynamic and just about every other dual chamber case these days. 8 pin, which is a little longer because it's got farther to reach. It has to go across the motherboard or even say across the backside and back in. So these just plug into, that's the power supply side. These just plug into here, and then you can carry those over to your motherboard for power. The lengths are a tricky thing. I always tend to go on the longer side than shorter side, because you can deal with it being too long, but you can never deal with it being too short. Too long, you just adjust your technique. Too short, you're just left wondering what could be. So what I want to do now though is I want to see if, because that's the thing, we weren't provided any threading. I want to assume if, let's say we went push fans on the backside, right? Like this. if this thread was proper for the radiator, and I know it's not proper for this radiator, which is an Alpha Cool, has this M3 thread, and I'm pretty sure this looks like it's a 632nd. I love this sort of stuff, especially as a water cooling enthusiast in probably one of the toughest times to ever be a water cooling enthusiast, as things are super, super expensive. No doubt this is not gonna be cheap either. Singularity Computers knows their demographic. This is hardcore water cooling enthusiasts that buy this type of stuff, and I love the way this looks. I have a build coming up that I kind of want to use this in, to be honest. It just would have been nice to get something like this in 140 as well. So I hope they're working on that. It's just I understand in terms of the market share of 120 fans versus 140 fans, 140s are getting a bigger share these days, but 120 is still dominant. So there you go. That is our kind of unboxing and look. Oh, it's called the 360 Powerboard V1.0. It's printed right on there. Why call it anything stupid? Just, that's what it is. It's a 360 Powerboard. You know in the name where it's gonna go. Now you just imagine this in your case next to your motherboard. That'd be pretty damn cool. And then because we have these different ports that we can use, right? This could be a return coming from, say, the GPU, right? Outlet could go to radiator. Radiator could go to top rad if you wanted. Top rad to CPU, CPU out to GPU, GPU into here. Done. Then you have all your flow in a nice big loop without any crossing tubes and pipes, and it keeps it all nice and orderly, if you will. Yeah, and don't forget, the Powerboard also has its own RGB lighting on there, and it's backlit. So this is gonna bounce off the motherboard tray, which will be neat, that this will look like it's sort of floating there. And then because they have these cutouts and it is clear acrylic, any lighting is gonna also kind of show through here if it's bouncing in that area. Although if it's an open fan area, then you may not see it. But. Okay, I got some things to figure out, like how to control the screen. But if you guys want me to use this in a build, please comment down below. Hell yeah, I want to see you use this in a build. I guess that's pretty much all you need to say.